Sup, man, and welcome to the Redneck's Guide to Zeus. Zeus is a Greek mage that has a really interesting kit. He revolves around dealing damage both with his basic attacks and with his abilities in order to use his third ability to strike a god from anywhere on the map, assuming he's dealt damage to him previously in some way. That gives him a very interesting teamfight presence, especially with his ult. But before we get to that, let's take a look at his lore. Alright, now you guys know who Zeus is. Zeus is the head of the Greek pantheon. He is king of the gods. He is top dog, man in charge, you know what I'm saying? But it wasn't always this way. You see, originally, Zeus's father was a titan named Cronus. And titans roamed the land and were basically huge pains in the ass, both to the gods and to everybody else. But it gets even worse, because Cronus, Zeus's father, it had been prophesied that one of his children would take over his throne. So what he did is he ate all of his children to prevent them from being able to take it. However, Zeus's mother Rhea hid him from Cronus so that Cronus wouldn't be able to eat him. Eventually, after Zeus grew up, he was like, man, I'm going to go get my siblings back. And he went and he just kicked Cronus's ass up and down the battlefield and was able to slit open his stomach, freeing all his other siblings. Now that is what I'm talking about. This dude who knows how to stand up to the big guys, you know what I'm saying? He knows how to deal some significant damage, and he ain't afraid to stand up for what's right. That's what I'm talking about. So we're going to look at how to use that honor and courage in order to maximize his potential on the battlefield. So now we talked about his lore, let's take a look at his abilities. So his passive is overcharge. So what overcharge is whenever you hit an enemy with a basic attack, you will stack a charge on them. Now, and you can have up to 3 charges per enemy, and this is both gods and minions and creeps and all that. So what happens is for each charge an enemy has on them, your basic attacks will deal an additional 30% damage. Now that is a really, really big damage increase. You know what I'm saying? That's up to 90% bonus damage once you have 3 charges applied to them. And charges can also be applied by your 1 and sort of by your 2. And we're going to get to that in just a second. But basically, you're going to want to stack charges as much as you can. Hit enemies with basic attacks and hit them with your other abilities in order to stack charges so that your basic attacks do more damage and so that your third ability can deal more damage. So now we talked about some of his abilities. Let's actually take a look at them, starting with his first ability, Chain Lightning. Now, Chain Lightning is a really cool ability. What it is you're going to throw a projectile out in front of you, and the first enemy it hits is going to deal 40 to 160 plus 40% of your magic power and damage, and then it's going to arc to up to 4 different enemies within range, and that range is about 20 feet, something like that. So what's going to happen is you're going to hit an enemy, and it's going to bounce back. It's going to bounce to all other enemies, and the enemies are chosen more or less at random. But what that means is that the fewer enemies are nearby, minimum 2, is just going to arc between all of them. So the ideal scenario is if there are exactly 2 enemies together, if you hit one of them with Chain Lightning, it will just arc back and forth, hitting up to 5 times, dealing that damage with every strike. Additionally, hitting them with Chain Lightning every time they're hit is going to get a charge from your overcharge. So Chain Lightning is another way to apply charges very quickly. Now let's take a look at his second ability, which is Aegis Assault. Now, Aegis Assault, what you're going to do is you're going to throw your shield out in front of you, and it's going to hit on the ground. When it lands, it's going to do 80 to 260 plus 50% of your magical power and damage. Now, in addition, you can strike that shield with your basic attack, and that basic attack damage will be applied to all enemies within the radius. Additionally, it's going to get an additional 10 to 30 damage on top of that. Now that's pretty daggum sweet, but also you're going to apply a charge to every enemy that is hit with that basic attack AoE from the shield. So you can use Aegis Assault to also apply charges to a lot of enemies in a large area. But oh wait, it gets even better. Your Aegis can be used as a arcing point for your chain lightning. So if you're up against just one god and there's no other enemies around, you can throw the Aegis on top of them, then hit them with your chain lightning, and it will bounce back and forth between the shield and the god. That is what I am talking about. That's going to deal a ridiculous amount of damage, applying 3 charges pretty much instantly, assuming you hit them first, and it's just going to deal a ton of damage back and forth. And then all your basic attacks are going to do more damage, so it's awesome. Now, when you throw your Aegis, you're almost always going to want to throw your chain lightning right into it immediately. Sometimes you're not. If you're just clearing waves, you might not want to. But if you're in a team fight, you are going to throw your Aegis and immediately throw your chain lightning. So what that is the timing for that is really simple. When you throw your Aegis, press chain lightning immediately before the shield even lands. And that is going to look like this. So the timing for using your Aegis assault to your chain lightning is pretty simple. What you're going to do is you're going to throw the shield and immediately throw your chain lightning before the shield even lands. And that is going to look like this. Throw, throw. It might have been difficult to see, but your chain lightning hit that shield pretty much at the exact moment it landed. So even if you throw your shield out to maximum range, it will still hit it. Look again. Throw, throw. You can see that the shield does land before the chain lightning gets to it. So you want to throw it like that. So basically, as soon as your chain lightning lands, you can start dealing some damage. Now against an actual player, that's going to look like this. Remember, if you're up against only one person, you can try and chain it back and forth like this. And there you go. That's putting on the maximum number of chains right there. If you hit them with it first, however, you can do it like this. Well, as soon as the cooldown is back. Throw, hit them, and then you can hit them 3 times. So if you can hit them, hit them. But it's much more reliable to go ahead and try and hit your shield first. Now, we're going to get to his third ability, which is really freaking sweet. And that is Detonate Charge. Detonate Charge is an instant cast global ability. What it's going to do is it is going to deal 55 to 135 plus 18% of your magical power in damage to every single enemy on the map that has a charge applied to them. Now, it doesn't matter where those charges came from, but per charge, it is going to deal 55 to 135 plus 80% of your magical power in damage. So that means if they have 3 charges on them, that is going to deal 410. Wait, no, that's not right. It's going to deal 405. I think that's right. 405 plus 18 times 3 is 60 minus 6 is plus 54% of your magical power and damage, which is a dang nice bit of damage. That's what I'm talking about. Now the cost is constant at a 90, so it's a little expensive, but the cooldown isn't too bad at only 10 seconds. However, I would say that because it's cost expensive, use your Detonate Charge when you have a significant amount of charges stacked up, because especially in the early game when you don't have a whole lot of mana to throw around. Because just one charge, that's only going to deal like 55 max 135 damage. That ain't that much. So you're going to want to wait until enemies have as many charges on them as you can before you use Detonate Charge. So now we talked about his abilities, let's take a look at his ultimate, which is Lightning Storm. Now Lightning Storm is freaking sweet. What it's going to do is when you cast it at your ground target, you're going to create a large AoE that is going to deal damage once per second to every enemy in the area. That damage is going to be 100 to 180 plus 50% of your magical power, and is going to strike 5 times. But it gets even better. Every strike is going to apply a charge. So that means you can throw your ultimate, land some, get some of those damage dealt to your enemies, and then if they get hit by 3 of the attacks from the Lightning Storm, now they're at max charges, you use your Detonate Charge, and you just beat them in the face. Now that is what I am talking about. That's going to allow you to do a ridiculous amount of damage in a very short amount of time. However, I would warn you that, again, that similar to Ho Yi's ultimate, they can just walk out of it if nothing is keeping them there. So you're going to want to look for a scenario when you can use your allies' abilities, such as Odin's Wall or even Kabraken's Ground Pound or you know, Hades' ultimate, just something that can keep them grouped together so they get hit by your ultimate as many times as possible. However, in lieu of that, you're just going to if you don't have an ally that has an ability that can keep them grouped together like that, you're just going to have to look for opportunities. Look for opportunities when they are distracted or when they are not paying attention, and preferably when they're grouped together. Bonus points if their leaps and other movement abilities are down, so they can't just move out of it immediately. So when you use your ultimate, it's going to look like this. I'm going to place the ground target right in the center there, just so you can see right there. When you use your ultimate, it's going to make that huge AoE, and it's going to look like this. Now, every second somebody stands in that, they're going to be hit by a lightning bolt that is going to apply a charge and deal that damage. So the longer they stay in it, the longer they get dealt damage, the more charges are applied to them. So you're going to want to try and get them to stay in it as long as possible. When you use your ultimate against a live enemy, it is going to look something like this. I'm going to place it on this target right here, and then he's going to start accumulating charges. Bam, bam, bam. Now he's at 3 charges. He's still getting hit by it, and it's not acquiring charges. After those 3 charges are placed, detonate charge and deal some massive damage. That's what I'm talking about. So you're going to want to try and land that and get those 3 charges. Once 3 charges have been applied to the various gods in the area, go ahead and detonate charge, because that is going to go ahead and apply more charges to them. And that's going to look like this. 1, 2, 3. Detonate charge, 1, 2. See, now he's got 2 charge on him already. Hit him again so you can go ahead and get that 3rd charge, and then detonate again. So you do have to hit him with a basic attack or a chain lightning or something like that to get that additional charge on them. And that can be tough to do in the middle of combat. So if it doesn't work out, don't worry about it. Of course, also, as you can see, the radius isn't super huge. If there's nothing keeping them in there, they can walk out of it relatively easily. So you're going to try and want to wait until they are grouped together, hopefully CC'd by one of your allies, namely your support, so you can land as many hits on them as possible. If that's not available, another good option is to try and bottleneck them in the jungle to where they don't have a whole lot of places to move, and so they're going to either so they don't have an easy way to get out of it. That's one way, or you can use it just to zone. As you see right here, if I place it there, they can't walk through that arch without hitting me, so you can also use it to zone your opponents. So now that we've taken a look at his abilities, let's take a look at how we're going to build Zeus. So Zeus has 2 main modes of attack. You can build him to be just your standard mage, or you can build him to be basic attack oriented. However, that build is difficult. It's difficult to pull off the basic attack build, so we're going to go for a more general purpose mage build. Now, there's a lot of contention between Shoes of the Magi and Shoes of Focus, especially right now that Shoes of the Focus got a power increase. Here's the deal. I recommend, especially for new or beginner players, I highly recommend getting Shoes of Focus. You're only losing 5 power, and you don't get the pin, but you get a lot more mana and cooldown reduction, so that's giving you a much better early game presence. And so I recommend starting off with Shoes of Focus. After you get Shoes of Focus, you're going to get a utility item. Something I recommend is getting Dynasty Plate Helm, especially if they have physical gods, because Zeus has no escapes, no movement abilities at all. You are very easy to gun down if you don't have allies there to support you. Dynasty Plate Helm is going to give you some power and give you some much needed physical protection while giving you a hefty dose of penetration. So it's pretty much got an all-in-one package. It's got power, protections, and penetration. However, a more generally useful item is Warlock Sash. It's going to give you power, health, and a ton of mana, and it's a stack building item giving you an additional 300 health and an additional 60 magical power once you get all 100 stacks on it. So Warlock Sash is a very good item to get, especially because your wave clear, especially once you get your Aegis leveled up, is actually pretty daggum good, and you are excellent at cleanup, allowing you to secure kills and build stacks relatively easily. Another item you might want to get at this point, depending on what's going on, is you might want to get Pythagorean's Piece. And the reason you might want to get Pythagorean's Piece is because it's going to give you 60 magical power, physical or magical lifesteal, and 10% cooldown reduction, as well as giving an aura to you and your allies for 30 magical power and 50% more magical lifesteal. And yes, that does include you. So if you have a very magic-heavy team, Pythagorean's Piece can be helpful, especially for the cooldown reduction and the power bonus. But for general purpose, I recommend getting Warlock Sash. Now, the item you're going to get third is almost always going to be Book of Thoth. The reason we're going to get Book of Thoth is it gives us 100 magical power, some mana, and some MP5, but it's also another stack building item that's going to give us a ton of bonus mana, and it's going to convert 3% of all mana into magical power. This is probably the single highest power granting item in the game that isn't Rod of Tahuti. So we're going to get Book of Thoth because that is just a huge power increase. Now, you can get Book of Thoth second if you want to. If you want to just go ahead and start building it second, you can. Then you can build a Warlock Sash, or if you want to, you can even build Gem of Isolation. Now, your one does have a 30% slow on it for 2 seconds, and Gem of Isolation is going to get another 25% slow on top of that, slowing them to an absolute crawl. However, I recommend Shoes of Focus, then Warlock Sash, then Book of Thoth. Now, after you get Book of Thoth, your fourth item is going to depend on a few different factors. I recommend getting Obsidian Shard. Obsidian Shard is going to give you 33% magical penetration as well as a bunch of power. So Obsidian Shard is very helpful and very handy. However, it's mostly useful for dealing with tanks and people with high magical protections. If they don't really have a lot of tanks in their team, or their tanks really aren't posing much of a threat and you just want to kind of take down the squishier targets, something else you can go for at this point is Chronos Pendant. Getting Chronos Pendant is going to give you 20% cooldown reduction and some power in MP5. So this is going to give us at this point 30% cooldown reduction, which allows us to use our abilities, especially our ultimate, way more often. So Chronos Pendant is also extremely useful. The fifth item you're going to get after that is going to be Rod of Tahuti. You're a mage, you're getting Rod of Tahuti. Why? Because it's 125 magical power and increases all magical power you got by 25%. That is a ridiculous amount of power, and if you're a mage, you're grabbing this item because the power it grants is just too ridiculous to give up. Now, after Rod of Tahuti, the last item you're going to get is Spear of Desolation. Spear of Desolation gives us another insane power bonus at 120 magical power, gives us a ton of magical penetration at a flat 20, and whenever you kill an enemy god, all of your cooldowns are reduced by 8 seconds. This can't occur more than once every 30 seconds. So that means you can throw your shield, throw your one, then detonate charge, and then if you get a kill off of that, you just got all those abilities back. And if you used your ultimate in the process, you won't get your ultimate back immediately, but 8 seconds will be knocked off of its cooldown. Spear of Desolation is going to allow us to really stick it to them in the late game because we're going to be able to, as long as we can secure a kill, it's going to enable us to throw our abilities even more often and even basically run a combo with them in a team fight. Now, there are some other items you might want to consider, especially for that fourth slot where I talked about Obsidian Shard and Chronos Pendant. If there is a lot of CC on their team and it's becoming difficult to deal with, you might go for Magi's Blessing. It's going to give you 350 health and 15 physical and magical protection, and it's going to absorb a hard CC or root once every 70 seconds. Because you have no escapes, crowd control is going to kick your ass. If you get crowd controlled, you are pretty damn doomed. So Magi's Blessing is going to help you deal with crowd control, especially if they have a CC heavy team. Magi's Blessing is going to really, really help out. Something else you can get at this point, however, is if you need just more raw defenses, you can instead get Spirit Robe. It's going to give you 40 to physical and magical protection, as well as 10% cooldown reduction and 20% crowd control reduction. And whenever you are hit with a hard CC, you gain an additional 15% damage mitigation for 3 seconds, once every 10 seconds. That's also super nice. However, if you are dependent on your relics, which we're about to get to, you can also go for Ritual Dagger. For the 200 health, the cooldown, attack speed, and the movement speed. Ritual Dagger is the all-in-one item that increases the duration of relics that you use by 50%. So now that we're talking about relics, let's take a look at what relic we are going to use. I highly, 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 highly recommend Purification. If they have any CC, any dangerous CC at all, I highly recommend Purification because, again, you've got no movement, you've got no escapes. If they CC you, you are done. So Purification is going to help you to get out of those CCs. And if you got Ritual Dagger, that's 3 seconds of CC invulnerability, which is super nice. The other relic I highly recommend getting is Sanctuary. Why? Because, again, no movement abilities, no escapes. Sanctuary is going to keep you from getting just immediately bursted down and maybe allow you to survive in a difficult team fight situation. However, if you get to the late game, or rather you get to the mid game, and they're just not able to capitalize because your allies are keeping them off of you, or for just whatever reason, they're not posing as much of a threat, something else you might be able to go for is Blink. The reason you're going to get Blink is because Blink gives you that escape. That way, if they do happen to get past your allies and into the back line where you are going to be, you can use Blink to get the hell out of there. You can also use Blink to blink in from surprise from the jungle, or from from way back and land a surprise ult on top of them. However, that takes a lot of coordination with your allies, so I wouldn't recommend getting Blink. It's just a neat little thing you can try if you want to try it. The only other thing I would even recommend getting at this point is maybe Meditation, which we'll go and look up here. Meditation is going to give you 15%, give you and all allies near you 15% of your maximum health and 35% of your maximum mana to all allied gods and yourself within 35 units. So Meditation is very useful because this gets you some of your resources back. However, I have Phantom in here, again, because if there is an Odin, if there is a Kabrakan, if there's a Ymir, somebody, or a Thor, somebody that can put walls, remember, no leaps, no escapes. If they've got walls and they are closing in on you and you are just not able to get out, Phantom can help you get the hell out of there. I don't know why it's not showing up. The tooltip's not showing up. But I can tell you what it does. What it does is when you activate it for the next 5 seconds... Here, let's just... Are we serious? Is this really happening right now? Okay, thank you. You know what? I don't really like this thing. The point is, here, we'll just do this. Using this item allows you and allied gods within 35 units to pass through player and player-made objects for 5 seconds. It also grants a 100% reduction to basic attack movement penalty for the duration. So you basically have Fatalis for 5 seconds. Not too shabby. So Phantom is gonna allow you to get out of those sticky situations like a Kabrakan or an Odin or a Thor or a Ymir wall that can really kick your ass if you don't have a way out of it. As far as consumables go, I recommend going Healing Potion, Mana Potion, Ward Sentry Ward, obviously, and then you're going to get the Elixir of Power because you are a damage dealer, and Elixir of Power is going to give you that extra little bit of oomph in the late game. So now we talked about his items, let's take a look at how we're going to level Zeus. So, let's just clear and do it this way. So what we're going to do, the first thing you are going to pick up is your Aegis Assault. At level 1, you're going to want some kind of AoE just so you can help clear the wave a little bit, and also being able to strike that shield is going to deal continuous damage to the wave, so Aegis Assault can really help you with the wave clear. We're going to go ahead and get that first. After you get Aegis Assault, the next thing we're going to get is Chain Lightning. We're going to get Chain Lightning because we want that Shield Chain Lightning combo to go ahead and bounce that thing back and forth if the opportunity arises. The third one we're going to pick up is Detonate Charge. The reason we're going to pick it up third is it's not terribly useful until you have your chain lightning. I mean, yeah, you can land basic attacks, especially off of your Aegis, but it doesn't get to be really useful until you have that chain lightning that can bounce between a whole bunch of targets. So we're going to pick up Detonate Charge third. Now, after you get those three abilities, you're going to start leveling your Aegis. You're going to level your Aegis first because it is an AoE and it's your only AoE. So it's going to really bump that damage up and it'll give you some wave clear in the early game, as well as being able to hit multiple gods at once if they're grouped up. So we're going to go ahead and level Aegis Assault first. And we're going to pick up your ultimate at every possible opportunity. So after we level Aegis, the next thing we're going to level is Detonate Charge. Starting in the mid game, we're going to start to pick up Detonate Charge. So once we get to level 14, once we are solidly in the mid game, our Detonate Charge is maxed out, and we're able to deal some significant damage with our combos. Again, picking up Lightning Storm at every opportunity. After we pick up Detonate Charge, the last thing we're going to level is our Chain Lightning. Now, the Chain Lightning is really nice. It does do a significant amount of damage, but it's not as much damage as your Detonate Charge, and it's not as reliable as your Detonate Charge. Once you actually pick the charges on it, that's just guaranteed damage. Chain Lightning isn't. So we're going to pick up our guaranteed damage on Detonate Charge second, and finish off with Chain Lightning third, again picking up your Lightning Storm at every opportunity. So now that we've taken a look at how to build and level Zeus, let's take a look at how he's going to perform in combat. Alright, now let's see what Zeus can do in combat. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to pick up our Shoes of Focus. And because we are looking at some significant damage on their team, especially with that Poseidon, with that burst potential, we're going to go ahead and pick up Sanctuary so we can deal with that. They don't have a whole lot of CC outside of that slow from Izanami, so Purification actually, strangely, isn't that necessary in this match. But they do have a tremendous amount of burst potential, so we're going to go ahead and pick up Sanctuary so we can deal with that burst just a little bit more effectively. Now, right here, I'm deciding whether or not to go to damage or to mana. We're going to see. I'm basically just waiting to see what they want to do. Again, I do want to iterate this is a live match against live players, and so, it can go kind of either way. So what we're going to do right here is, it looks like Hercules is actually going to go to attack, but that's okay. He can just focus them out. Me and Wheelits can definitely handle these guys on our own. So I'm going to throw an Aegis, then I'm going to throw just throw my Chain Lightning into that just so I can chain it up to all of them using my Detonate Charge in order to get that last hit. And now I've got mana, easy peasy. So now we're going to go into lane, and I've got the mana so I can go ahead and just use this kind of with Wild Abandon. We're going to go ahead and throw an Aegis right there. We're going to land our Chain Lightning in order to just deal some mad damage to that wave right there. Our wave clear isn't tremendous in the early game because we've only got one rank of our Aegis Assault, but that's okay. Oh, we tried to hit that Ao Kuang right there, but he teleported out of the way. All right, let's go ahead and just throw right on top. We're just going to start getting some charges on that first wave. Going to throw an Aegis Assault right there. Ooh, managed to pluck. All right, let's just land some attacks right there. There we go. That's what I'm talking about. That Hercules got a good pluck out of that Izanami right there. That is what I am talking about. And we're just going to stay right here, just trying to use our basic attacks to clear the wave because there's only a couple of them there. No use these abilities. Oh, wow. So what he did right there is he's going to land that, he landed another pluck. We threw a shield into the middle of it just to deal some damage. And we were able to, basically force him out. Oh, man. That a wheel. It's getting another early kill. That's what I am talking about. You're going to look for opportunities like that when they're grouped together, especially when they're CC. Throw your Aegis right on top of them. Throw a Chain Lightning into it. Just trying to deal some damage. Just trying to, hit them up. So once they're grouped together, that is an excellent opportunity for you to go ahead and use your Aegis to deal just a little bit of damage. Now, we are staying in the lane right here because we can. We want to get as much gold and experience as possible, and being out of lane is going to cause us to lose golden experience. So we want to stay in it as long as we can. Now, you see that I had that Aegis in the middle of that creep wave right there. So, I was able to just hit the Aegis with my basic attacks, and it spread the damage, or it didn't spread, but it dealt that damage to all enemies in the radius. And we're looking for Hercules to land a pluck here. Oh, that's what I'm talking about. We're going to go ahead and throw a chain lightning right on top of them. Hit him again. Oh, look at that pluck. Then we're going to land our 3, and look at that. Hercules giving him control. We're just hitting with our Aegis, hitting with our chain lightning, just to, you know, dang, that at least is pretty good. Hit him with our Aegis, hitting him with our chain lightning, hit with our basic attacks, just to get as many charges on them as possible. And when he was getting away, he was at low health with 3 charges. So just throwing that 3, and I got that kill. That is what I am talking about. Well, that's how we're going to use that detonate charge to maximum potential. Go ahead and throw an Aegis on him along with a chain lightning. Gonna go ahead and use that detonate, and look how low his health is right there. Just from getting hit with the Aegis, the chain lightning, and the detonate charge practically killed him. Of course, with help from Hercules. So that is how we're going to use that right there. Look for opportunities to throw your Aegis and your chain lightning, hit as many people as possible. All right, now we're going to go ahead back. We're going to go ahead and actually just work on Warlock Sash. We just want some health, and we just want more damage at this point. They're probably not going to build very tanky. They don't really have anybody that can really be a support, so we're probably not going to have to worry about tanking that much, or them having a whole lot of protections. So what we're going to do is we're going to throw an Aegis into that, you know, just to kind of deal a little bit of damage. Didn't throw the chain lightning because I didn't, you know, want to waste that mana. Didn't really need to. It's just a creep wave after all. Now we're going to sit back here, and remember, we have no escapes, no movement abilities at all, so we cannot be aggressive. You know, you don't want to be too aggressive, because if you go in just whole ham, there's a good chance that you're going to get killed in the process, because if they come out and they just deal some mad damage there on top of you, you got no way out. So you're going to want to play it safe, especially in the early game. See right here, I'm just taking a look around this corner. I see them. I immediately back off, because I know that I cannot go in the middle of their line. I have to stay as far away from them as I possibly can, just trying to deal damage from a distance whenever possible. Do not charge in as Zeus. You will get killed, I promise. So you just land in some basic attacks. Ooh, got another pluck. Oh, look at that. And we are throwing a chain lightning into the middle of that. We're going to use our ultimate just as many people as possible. Look at that, getting that detonate after we accumulate as many charges as we could. Enabled us to deal a max amount of damage. So that was an excellent pluck on the Hercules side. Oh, there's an Al Kwong right there. We're going to throw... Oh, and look at that. That's what I'm freaking talking about. And can we just throw one more basic? And he's going to die once I use my detonate. We were waiting for that cooldown to come back, but see what happened was he had a charge on him, but you can't let those charges expire, so I was just trying to land a couple more basic attacks just to make sure those charges stayed on. As soon as my cooldown on my detonate charge came back, that was an easy slap to get him from any distance. So that is how we're going to use that. Oh, don't need to be in that whirlpool. All right, now we're at this point in the game. We are doing really well. So what we're basically looking for to do is Hercules seems to be on point with those plucks. We are looking for Hercules to land those plucks and those stuns so we can deal as much damage as possible. Trying to land our Aegis on top of them, using our ultimate when appropriate. All right, now our Wheelix is over there on the side. She's probably looking for a gank, but looks like they know they know she's there. But again, look, we are staying back because we do not want to charge in there senselessly. Oh, wow. I don't think I'm going to get him with that. Nope, no way. But we are going to deal some damage and force him out. Ooh, a Wheelix going in hard, and a Wheelix getting that kill. That's what I'm talking about. Wheelix is able to follow up, so that's always pretty nice. So now we're just going to sit here in lane. We're just going to push this wave back using our Aegis right there. Oh, and look at all that we land on there. I'm going to try and detonate. Oh, but it didn't happen in time. I was hoping that Hercules was going to be able to pluck or Wiz was going to be able to follow up. That was a huge mistake on my part. That's what I get for being over-aggressive. She landed more basic attacks than I expected her to, and she used her ultimate. That definitely secured that kill. But that just goes to show you can't be over-aggressive. Even when you're in a solid lead, you do not need to be over-aggressive because that will happen to you. So now we're just going to go ahead and head back towards the lane. And see what's going on up there. Now, we've already got our Warlock Sash, and we are starting to build our Book of Thoth, just so we can start building those stacks as quickly as possible. Building stacks isn't the easiest thing on Zeus, because a lot of your abilities are necessary for landing your charges on the enemies, but you might have to use them to take out creep waves in the process. But it's okay, because we're still going to be building up those charges, so you're just going to basically look for moments where you aren't going to have to use your abilities for a second. Oh, now there's that Hercules. We're going to go ahead and throw that Aegis right on top of him, just like that. And we are going to be able to detonate and get a kill out of it. We hit him with that Aegis. We hit him with our Chain Lightning. We hit him with the basic attack, getting all those charges on top of him. And then he could not escape the Detonate, even though he was invisible. Oh, Hercules missing a dash. That's unfortunate. Let's throw an Aegis right on top of them right there. Ooh, look, getting those chains in there. Trying to land those chains, getting a Detonate just to deal some damage to him. And we are going to sit back and just wait for another opportunity. See, look at this. Because we were just landing those chain lightnings, we were able to do some consistent zoning, or not zoning, but rather some consistent poke, actually. We can throw a chain lightning, deal some damage, and we can just, keep that sustained damage on top of them to make sure they don't get too comfortable. I'm just taking a look at what items they have. And no, they are not building any defense at all, because I'm thinking about my fourth item right now and whether or not I need penetration, and I don't, because they are building 0 defense. So right now we're just going to take a look at what's happening around here. Just throw in basic attacks just to see if they land. Ooh, Izanami getting a pluck, and a Wheelix going in for that right there. Going to throw a chain lightning on all of them, using our Aegis to protect from that Poseidon ult very successfully. And we're going to throw in a ultimate right there, because I know it would absolutely secure that kill. That Izanami just came out of her dash, so I knew she could not use the dash to get out. Oh, and a Wheelix helped me with that Ao Kuang right there. I'd lost sight of Ao Kuang, and I probably should not have gone forward, but a Wheelix was there to help me secure that advantage right there, and she took out Ao Kuang for me. Very nice of her, actually. So remember, I don't really have anybody right now that can group everyone together for me, unless Hercules gets a really lucky pluck. So I'm just looking for opportunities to use my ultimate on people who can't get away. And because I believe, and I know at least one of them has Aegis, because they have Aegis, you can't just throw your ultimate and just hope for the best. If they Aegis your Detonate charge, they've just eliminated a lot of your damage. So you're going to have to pay attention to when their Aegis is up and when it's down. We're going to go ahead and throw a shield on that just to deal some damage. And we are hitting with that basic attack right there just to land some charges on him. There's an Izanami right there. Oh, there is an Ao Kuang. He backed off. He's getting smart. Look at that. Throwing that shield on top of those minions. Now it is able to just clear them. Absolutely. That is what I'm talking about. And we're just going to kind of sit back here and watch and see what's happening. Ooh, Hurt going in from the side. I'm not sure what he's going for there. We're going to go ahead and throw an Aegis and a Chain Lightning. Oh, and that Chain Lightning is actually able to get that kill. That's what I'm talking about. Hercules distracting them. We're not paying attention to me, and my Aegis Chain Lightning combo able to deal enough damage to secure that kill. All right, now we're just going to wait again for an opportunity. Oh, Hercules missing the pluck. We're going to throw that Aegis. Oh, look at all those bounces. Look at it. Oh, and I'm going to detonate right now. That is what I'm talking about. Hercules was capitalizing on my Aegis Lightning Chain combo, and he was doing an excellent job. He saw that he had 3 charges on him, so he goes in, he throws his ultimate, and then I knew that my Detonate would absolutely take him out. So that was very nice on Hercules' part right there, waiting for them to get really low so that when we detonate, we know we can secure that kill. This is Izanami right here. So now she does some significant damage. We cannot get close. You are not going to be able to box anybody as Zeus. So don't even try. So what we are going to do, we're going to have to stand back. Our Hercules is off to the side. Our Wheelix is off to the side looking for a gank opportunity. We're going to go ahead and throw that in there just to deal some damage. Oh, and that's not good. We're going to Aegis just so we can prevent Ao Kuang from really hitting us with that damage. He didn't really stick around as much as I thought he would. Oh, he's using his Aegis, and then he's going to die. He used his Aegis to get away, so what we had to do, we had to wait for our Chain Lightning Shield combo. Oh, that is not good. We're going to go ahead and land some back. Oh, and I missed. If I'd hit with that Chain Lightning, it could have bounced back and forth between them a couple of times before the minion wave got there, but I missed with that Chain Lightning, unfortunately. So now we're just going to sit back here in lane. We're going to just keep an eye on what's happening right now. We're just going to, just try and take out. We're still building stacks, so we still want to take out these enemies. Keep building stacks whenever possible. And, I actually might just get right up to Hootie at this point. I've got enough. If I can just wait a little bit longer. I mean, I have enough money to get it right now. If I'm lucky, I'll have enough gold when I go back to go ahead and get Kronos and Ratatouille. I went ahead and went for Kronos because I decided I did not need the penetration. I don't really need the lifesteal because I'm able to keep enough of a distance from them. So I'm just going for Kronos just so I can get that cooldown run and use my abilities even more often. But I am, remember, look at this. I'm keeping my distance. The moment they even think about coming towards me, I am already backing up. Because again, no movement, no escapes. Do not get too close. So we're going to sit in here. Okay, Poseidon throwing his whirlpool. Oh, and then a Wheelix coming in from the side. So what we're going to do is we're going to throw our chain on top of him. We're going to hit him with that. Oh, but he is able to get out, unfortunately. A Wheelix, I believe, was able to Aegis that ultimate and prevent it from really doing enough damage to her to matter. So now we've got our abilities back. Oh, Hercules diving hard. Being able to land on that. We're going to throw a chain on that, okay, let's go ahead and use our ultimate. Try and hit these people as often as possible. Use our Detonate to kill that Alquang right there. That's what I'm talking about. Unfortunately, we weren't able to get that Izanami, but we were able to do a lot of damage with that ultimate. Force her out. Put all 3 charges on Alquang, so when we detonate, we absolutely were able to kick his ass. All right, now we're going to do Fire Giant. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead, I should hit the Fire Giant first, but we're just going to keep hitting that shield because it's doing more basic attack damage. Going to use that Detonate to kill the Fire Giant just to make sure that they aren't able to steal it. So we use that Detonate just to make sure that we are able to take it. That's why I wasn't using Detonate, as I was oh, and that's the end of the game apparently. I was saving that Detonate just in case we got caught up on. I could use that Detonate just to kill it immediately. Or, you know, I was saving that Detonate for an instant kill because it could be used in that fashion to secure it from the enemy. Now, that went extraordinarily well. I was a little bit worried about that because I didn't have an Odin or an Ares or a Cabrat. I didn't have anybody that could really lock down outside of Hercules. But it just goes to show that with the right team, you can still do really well. You just got to know what you're doing. You got to look for opportunities to use that ultimate when they're grouped together and don't have an easy way out, preferably when they don't have their mobility options, so you can land the maximum amount of damage possible. Well, I hope this video was educational and informative. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them in the comment section below. Let me know what god you want to see a guide for, and I love it when you guys hit that subscribe button. Now, y'all have a good one now, you hear?